three. I wonder if it is the three who love to hate me most, or who hate to love me most. The Three Stooges, perhaps. I think this is a topic that will have some masculine interest. Do we have a view on whether it's a good idea for adolescent males, especially underage males, to be seduced by older women, usually women in a position of trust over them, like nurses or teachers? Yes, this is an issue of feminism, really, because really, when we talk about feminism, there is the presumption of equality. So we've talked about, you know, equality of, I mean, equality of the sexes, and I've said that it is the greatest injustice to treat unequal things equally, and you know, men are not equally as good as women at bearing children, and women are not equally as good as men at being soldiers and killing people. So we have to take these, obvious um, differences in capacity to account, to reflect reality, and to give government policy um, greater effectiveness. So if it's like if you know children are not really very clever and don't know much, it would be silly to put them, you know, into positions of responsibility. It's just that sort of basic reasoning. And I'm saying that women are just better at saying no to offers of no string sex. Because women kind of know that men tend to want sex more than they do, and are more desperate to get them and show their desperation and thirstiness. And it is right that things are as they are, because obviously women, well, there's just significantly more sperm than there are eggs, and nature has decreed that there would be the appropriate competition for scarce resources, sperm competing to have a egg to be egg to fertilize. It's a kind of cosmic musical chairs, and not everyone will be a winner. And this is one of the hard facts of life that people find hard, well, feminists especially find hard to accept. And I'm saying we must accept it, because to deny reality is to deny the information that is required to keep your group in existence, and apart from others, as well as your own continuing individual existence. So an older woman seduces an underage boy. What effect do you think that would have on him? It would have, I'm afraid, the effect of feminizing him. It would make him think this is how sex should be. Women should say, I'm such a pretty boy that I'm so irresistible, and they'll come after me. And all I have to do is look pretty and don't say anything much in case I offend these women who might give me sex. Yes, that's how it's done. That's how women do it. They know not to talk too much, because talking too much might put people off. You don't want to show how stupid you are, or if you're not stupid, you don't want to show how clever you are. or you don't want to condemn yourself by expressing political views that might not be to the liking of your intended spouse if you are courting. Years ago, I started a website that was intended to short circuit the whole process. And I was saying, well, we'll discuss politics immediately so that you know the worst of each other. And if you have anything um, left that you can negotiate to it, then maybe you can think about getting married. But your conversation should be about politics and morality to check each other out. But that wasn't popular because women don't feel comfortable discussing politics, and men don't really think that women's views on politics matter. But they do matter, especially if they can control the ship of state and all the political parties in a land pander towards their preferences. But back to the subject of why it is so wrong for an older woman to seduce a younger man. You will destroy his life and destroy his civilization, of course, because he will just be hoping to repeat the same experience and not have to be a go-getter to impress women. He will expect older women to come to him, and older women are not known for their fertility. And I am aware of the kind of relationship that now exists for men who have been divorced once. They don't want to marry again. And so they shack up with an older woman who will never, ever hurry them into marriage because they have lost hope of having children anyway. So women over the age of 35 would be ideal for men of that kind who want a relationship with a woman but doesn't want children and doesn't want to be pestered to hurry up and marry her. So this is the sort of situation that the West is now in, with its imploding birth rate, with people more interested in having recreational sex with each other than in having legitimate offspring or staying together in the marriage for the sake of parenting them. In the meantime, the government makes it easier for couples to divorce. It should be clear that the matriarchy has no interest in continuing your society in any recognizable form. It is probably subconsciously daring you to put your foot down, but you are still too timorous to do so, and when I tell you what you have to do, you don't like it. So, an older woman who seduces an underage adolescent male would have the effect of making him think like a woman for the rest of his life. And if he does not, then he would be a sex addict and see his sexual prowess as his only measure of success, not in career, not in intellect, not in any kind of achievement, but just the sheer number of silly women that he manages to seduce and please, because he knows how to please a woman, having been shown the way to do this by his sexual abuser, really. Because women who do that to men create passive men who are emasculated, effeminate, or sex addicted. And I'm afraid I know too many men who are like that. And I even know women who complain that men are too passive. But the irony of that is that some women who complain about men being passive, obviously, Oh dear, I seem to have gone offline. I'm so sorry. Right, but I've only got one viewer. Sorry about that. I was wondering why the comment suddenly died. Um, where was I? I should just finish now by saying that it's obviously a bad thing that men should have sex offered to them by older women, because the damage is is latent. It's a bit like Milo saying that he enjoyed being seduced by an older man when he was still underage. But the thing is, if he weren't homosexual, he would have an entirely different life, right? We sort of know this, if we were if we were not the sex that we were born in, we would have an entirely different life as a member of the opposite sex. Uh, if we were married when we are not, you know, our marital status, our sexual orientation, the fact that we have children and how many children we have, it all has a bearing on the quality of the kind of life we have. And we are falling at the first hurdle of even having a an, a gender identity that we like. And we are being encouraged by an evil government that wants to confuse us and tells us it is okay to be male and female and gender fluid and all that sort of thing. And it is all to do with sex, because our gender identity dictates how we behave to members of the opposite sex. And therefore, if we if our sexual identity if our gender identity is uncertain, then we won't be able to have um, a, a stable identity with which to be found attractive by members of the opposite sex for long enough to form a stable relationship, to form um, well, to embark on the enterprise of rearing the next generation. But nobody cares, because nobody wants to have children. We wonder why, don't we? So that's really why I want. Have I made my point? I'm sure I've made it 3 times already, but I don't know if I was offline when I was making the point. But I'm saying the damage done to underage boys who are seduced by older women in a position of trust over them is just as damaging as young women, underage girls being seduced by men into having underage sex. And the final point on feminism I want to make is that men will always have a disadvantage in saying no to women who offer them free sex. Women don't have trouble saying no to men offering them free sex, do they, men? And um, this is exactly the point that feminism denies. It denies that women always have the advantage on refusing no string sex than men. And this is what gives them their power. It gives them the ability to control society, as long as men refuse to acknowledge their own particular weakness. And it's probably because they don't want to miss out on any chance of a woman offering them sex, even if it's from an older woman. So thank you for listening, and this was in answer to a question that somebody asked.